Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel, and today we have a few wee housekeeping things to go over. The transfer talk is quiet this afternoon, which is hopefully a sign of things to come. Hopefully this is the quiet before the storm. Maybe I'm just being overly optimistic. Nonetheless, we have a few things to talk about. If you haven't already, please make sure to hit like and subscribe. We are now less than 300 subscribers away from 50,000 subs. Let's try and get there before the end of June, shall we? It's all down below. It's absolutely free. We're going to start with some news today which concerns the Champions League, because there was a story that broke in Germany, I believe, about rule changes which seem to be taking place from next year's competition onwards. Not one that affects Celtic that greatly, but one to be aware about nonetheless. German publication Bild are reporting that there will be rule reform in the Champions League next year after only one season under the new format. Some small tweaks are taking place from next season onwards to make things a little more fair in the competition. Now, this is a rule change which affects the knockout stages of the competition. So after that initial league phase is complete and all 8 games have finished up, there will be a small rule change that affects who plays at home first in every knockout stage from that first initial round onwards. So this is what Bild went on to say, that after just one season of the new 36 club Champions League, UEFA is changing the format. Clubs that finished among the top 8 in the league table after the league phase and thus qualified directly for the round of 16 will receive additional rewards in the future. They will generally play second legs of the knockout rounds against lower ranked teams at home. This previously only applied to the round of 16, but it will now continue beyond into the quarterfinals and semi-finals. Criticism of the format came from bigger clubs this year. We'll touch on that in a minute. As you can already see, this isn't exactly huge news for Celtic, because we need to make a quarter-final for this really to matter. And I don't know if we'll get a quarter-final anytime soon. However, on that note, the fact that this is a rule coming into the Champions League from next season, you would assume that it's a rule that might come into the Europa League as well. Now, Celtic might be in the Europa League next season. There's no guarantee about that. There's no guarantee of which competition we'll enter. It all depends on what happens in the playoff round of qualifiers. But if it's coming into the Champions League, you would assume it would affect the Europa League as well. So it's something just to look out for in future. Now, Bild went on to report that the criticism was really prevalent from Arsenal. They were the biggest side that had complaints about the format of home and away ties and who got the favourable draw in the Champions League last season, because they had to play Real Madrid in the quarter-final second leg away from home, despite finishing higher and finishing third in the league stage, which was 8 places ahead of Real Madrid. Despite Arsenal going through, it wasn't very favoured. They also went on to say that this happened for Barcelona as well, who, even though they finished above Inter in the league phase, had to play their return leg in Milan, which ultimately cost them a place in the Champions League final, you could say, because the odds were stacked against them heading to Milan in the second leg. So yeah, this is a rule that's really only affecting the bigger clubs at this moment in time, but you never know. Hi, there might be a year that comes in the very near or distant future where Celtic somehow make a quarter-final and we get hard done by because we finished higher in the league phase than the team we're facing and then need to go away from home second. So these are rules that just issue some more fairness into the competition. And on the very unlikely situation that it affects Celtic sometime soon, it's good to know that it's being rectified. So a small rule change to look out for from next year. However, there is something else from this article to talk about which I really do like the sound of. There is more rule changes being discussed amongst UEFA for the Champions League moving forward. If you scroll down to the bottom of this Bild article, you will see there has been other changes discussed, such as penalty shootouts instead of extra time in the knockout rounds, or country protection from the playoffs after the league phase. So that would mean that clubs from the same country would not have been able to meet each other as early on, such as Bain against Leverkusen and Real against Atletico, as they did in the round of 16. But the one that really catches my eye there, and the one that only really matters to Celtic in this situation, is the scrapping of extra time, which I think is something that should be introduced in the Champions League. Extra time's futile. Most of the time you've got two heavyweights who are absolutely knackered, having to play an extra half an hour of football with no team really prepared to lose the game. So there's such a safe approach, and it's a waste of everybody's time. How many times do we see games that are tied after 90 minutes go to a penalty shootout anyway? That happens quite frequently. I think that extra time should be done away with. And also to flip it in favour of Celtic, right? Let's go back to Munich. Let's go back to the game against Bayern, and let's pretend that Alphonso Davies doesn't score with the last kick of the ball. Now, I know that's a fantasy land we all wish happened, but if the game went to extra time, if Alphonso Davies never scored that goal, we'd have been pumped in extra time. It's as simple as that. There is no way we'd have been able to compete with Bayern Munich in extra time. But if you eliminate that and you send it straight to a penalty shootout, well, it's anybody's game. Anybody could take the win in a knockout game of football if it goes to penalty shootouts. And I think that's just better entertainment all round for the Champions League. Now, I know it swings and roundabouts. Sometimes you're going to win some, sometimes you're going to lose some. But generally speaking, I think that is something that could be in favour of Celtic. So there is no official decision on that front yet. We don't know if that will be a rule that changes anytime soon. But certainly, hopefully, is one that will move forward. So, moving forward, I should say. Aye, there you go. Champions League rules changing from next year. Celtic have officially announced part of their pre-season plans for next month in July. We are heading to Como because Celtic officially announced on the club's Twitter this afternoon that Celtic will be taking part in football on the lake as part of the Como Cup between July 23rd and July 27th. We heard rumours of this last week. Reports emerged that Celtic were heading to Como to take on Ajax and Como FC. Well, the full tournament has been announced now, and we know that Celtic are heading to Italy for what seems like quite a fun wee idea. I'm starting to wish that I saved more money now because I'd love to go over for this. So Celtic will go up against Ajax, Como and Al Ahly of Saudi Arabia in a pre-season tournament just for a wee bit of fun, but will present the winner with a Como Cup, the Como Cup. When the Celts go up to lift the Como Cup, we'll be there. Bit of fun. Nice pre-season preparations, going up against some good sides, and hopefully another trophy for Celtic. On track for the quadruple. Or sorry, should I say the quintuple next season? I think so. I don't think full details have emerged yet in terms of dates for the each game and how the actual tournament will work. What I assume is it's a 4-team tournament. There'll be 2 semi-finals, and the winners of each game will face each other in the grand final in Como. But I'm looking forward to it. That's some watch-alongs for the channel this summer, some football to talk about. And, you look back to last season's pre-season in America, when we took on Manchester City, Chelsea, DC United, we played really, really well, and it was a very telling few games of football to show us what was going to happen in the early stages of Celtic's season. Hopefully that's the case again. So yeah, Como Cup's happening. It's been officially announced. Keep an eye out for dates if you're planning on going over. Luis Palma returns to the club this summer, as we all know, but reports in his home country are already suggesting that a move for him could come sooner rather than later, because a publication called Once Noticias in Honduras is reporting he will return to Celtic, but both parties are looking for an exit. Although he will return to Celtic at the start of pre-season, his return will not be for a long time. The players' entourage are already working on a move in this transfer market, which could take in the form of a new loan or permanent transfer. His priority is to gain playing time for the upcoming qualifying round for the Honduras national team heading into the 2026 World Cup. Therefore, both him and his representatives are looking for a destination where he can play in a more prominent role. Local media in Greece are reporting that 3 major clubs in the country are interested in signing him for the upcoming season, which would keep the quote-unquote prince in Greek football. So yeah, players entourage looking for a move. Very unlikely he'll still be with Celtic come the beginning of the actual season. It's hardly news, but it's a bit of an update on his situation. Finally, very, very quickly, Scott Bain has found himself his new club after his release from Celtic this past week. Falkirk have re-signed the goalkeeper on a 1-year deal. He is a Bain. Scott Bain is a Bain, was the headlines. So best of luck to Scott Bain and his move to Falkirk. Aye, our first big departure of the window, if you like. Right, that's us for today. If you've enjoyed, please make sure to hit like and subscribe. We're going live tonight on the channel for a wee Q&A live stream to talk about everything that's in the news. So I'll see you there around 7:30. But until then, take care of yourself. God bless. And I'll see you all next time.